this edition of The Perspective, we are joined by the chairperson of the National Guns Association of Kenya, Mr. Anthony Wahome, who is going to speak about matters, guns, and particularly in regards to what has been happening in the country recently regarding the Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Babu Owino, shooting at B Club. Bwana Wahome, thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year. Hope it's not too late to say that. Yesterday, the government gave a directive that all the bodyguards of the VIPs who are facing criminal charges, the bodyguards will be withdrawn. What's your perspective to that?
Thank you, Davis. I think it's a step in the right direction, in as much as the government cannot afford protection to members of such senior members of society who, instead of being lawmakers and law keepers, have become lawbreakers. I think the IG did a very good thing. It's a step in the right direction. I think they're sending a message that, listen, in as much as the National Police Service is charged with maintenance of law and order, they cannot be the ones protecting those who are breaking the law.
In your own assessment, how would you define the conduct, or better yet, the misuse of firearms? What really entails that? What really constitutes that?
I think misuse of a firearm is use of a firearm where the danger is not imminent. If there is no danger, and imminent here means that the person who's the owner of the firearm cannot easily walk away or run away from the danger. For example, Davis, if you're walking in the streets and you are a firearm license owner, if someone comes with a panga and is chasing people and everyone is running, the question to ask is, can you easily walk away or run away from that danger? If the answer is yes, then you can't use your firearm. You understand? Yeah. Yes.
What are some of the procedures that are involved in getting a firearm in regards to the current law and here in Kenya?
Okay, one has to fill in a form, and with that form they have to get a police clearance certificate, a psychiatric evaluation done from a government facility, of course the copy of ID, 6 months bank statement, and the reason for that is just to ensure that this person who's applying for a firearm is a person of means. They are not going to use their firearm now to make a living by engaging in criminal activity. It's not really to know. It's not really to say that your bank statement should be in tons of millions. No, it's just basically to show that you're a person of means. You have an income. And when all these are filled in, when you get all these documents, you have to also put a cover letter, basically stating who you are, what you do, and why you need a firearm. And that goes to your OCPD or OCS. You'll be called before the Sub-County Security and Intelligence Committee. It's a panel of around 7 to 9 people. They'll question you. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? Why do you need a firearm? So you have to justify that. If they are satisfied with that, they will forward your application to the County Security and Intelligence Committee. And if the County Security and Intelligence Committee is satisfied, they will forward it to the Firearms Licensing Board. Now, the Firearms Licensing Board is the final authority. Once they approve it, you'll be given a grant letter, and your safe, they'll inspect whether you have a safe within your house. And once that is done, they'll give you a firearm certificate.
Correct.
Yes.
In the light of what happened just recently regarding the B Club incident, where it's alleged that Babu Owino shot a DJ in the club, what's your assessment to that incident? And going forward, what are some of the repercussions which will be leveled against the Member of Parliament?
Okay, I may not be able to comment much on the matter because it's a matter in court, but from what I've seen in the public domain, from the footage that has been availed and everything that has been availed, which is already in the public domain, I would say it was quite an unfortunate incident in the sense that I did not see any imminent danger for use of a firearm. It was not present, at least from what we saw. And first of all, a club, these places where people patronize and you have to engage in activities which are otherwise not catered for in the Firearms Act, I think it's a no-no, in the sense that the Firearms Act is clear as far as possession of a firearm and being intoxicated is concerned. I'm not saying he was intoxicated, but some of these places are better avoided if you're carrying a firearm, especially places where people are getting intoxicated. I mean, people are not drinking uji in this bar. And the same facility has in the past been in the media for similar incidents with firearms, with different people. And I think it's important that the relevant authorities, in this case the police, DPP, and judiciary, send a clear signal in as much as the sanctity of life prevails. And if it is in the Bill of Rights, then it needs to be protected. So our hope is that, all these organs that are charged with ensuring that justice is served are actually going to be up to the task. And in a sense, to stop all this, we cannot have a situation where people are misusing the firearms to the injury or to the death of other citizens. Yes.
Correct. So what are some of the alternatives which the Member of Parliament has in terms of future holding of a gun for him? What are some of the alternatives?
I think once he's gone through the process, the Firearms Act is very clear on situations where the Firearms Licensing Board can revoke a firearm. So I think once the matter has gone through the legal procedure, I believe the Firearms Licensing Board will be up to the task, and they will do what is necessary if he's found guilty or if he's found not guilty. Okay. So, but at the end of the day, it would be a good thing for the powers that be to protect members of the public from people who, in my opinion, are of intemperate habit, in the sense that the Firearms Act talks about people who cannot possess a firearm, people who are not of sound mind, and people of intemperate habits, people who are prone to anger issues. You cannot solve road rage, bar brawls, domestic disputes using firearms. That's a no-no. Right. Yes.
In terms of statistics, how are the numbers in terms of the people who get to misuse firearms in the country? Perhaps can you share the numbers, the recent numbers?
I may not have the exact numbers, but one thing I know is that especially among the disciplined forces, there has been a rise in the number of incidents where police officers have used firearms against them, other colleagues, or used them for suicide, or and to a large extent, in as much as the vetting process for applicants for firearm certificates involves psychiatric evaluation, I think it's a high time that the disciplined forces considered also that members of the disciplined force also need to be subjected to psychiatric evaluation. That has not been happening, and I think, going by the numbers have been increasing. It's about time they do that. Not for anything. It's to protect every other person and the person wielding the firearm.
My final questions would be on the issue about the government recently also reduced the number of registered gun dealers from, I think, about 33 to 15. Is this a good thing for the country in regards to generally in terms of security?
I think it is a good thing in the sense that they must have had a valid reason as to why they reduced the numbers, and I think that was part of the vetting process. The beauty about the vetting process is that they vetted licensed firearm owners, they vetted gun dealers, they vetted gun ranges. So it was a holistic vetting. And if they chose to reduce, I think to a large extent, serving a population of 0.03% of the population who are licensed firearm owners, which is 18,000 licensed firearm owners, I would think 33 gun dealers is a bit on the high side, and a number of 15 sounds more realistic, in the sense that it needs to be a controlled business. A gun dealer has a lot of leeway in what they sell, in what they stock, and control is the best option.
Okay. Yeah. You're going forward as the parting shot, sir. What do we really need to do in terms of the holding of a gun in Kenya?
I think every licensed firearm owner needs to know that being licensed to have a firearm is not being licensed to kill or to exercise impunity. There are laws governing use of a firearm, and every licensed firearm owner needs to know them. As an association, we have trained our members. We continually train our members on proficiency in the use of firearms, on provisions of the law as far as owning a firearm is concerned. And we've had several seminars with DPP, with the Office of the DPP, in a sense to educate our members on what would constitute an offense in the use of your firearm, so that you can avoid it, not so that you can do it. And the onus is on every licensed firearm owner to know what these are. So a license to a firearm is not a license to kill. And the sanctity of life must prevail. If anyone misuses their firearm, they will have to answer before a court of law. So it's a huge responsibility, and with that huge responsibility, there are no two ways about it. They have to know what the law provides for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.